Hello and welcome to the Queer Podcast, the Real Queer Podcast, hosted by the Mosaic and LGBTQ plus Resource Center social media assistants. This is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to queerness. I'm Lexi and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Kane. I use any pronouns. And today we're going to be talking about and debunking some queer stereotypes. I found this super awesome Wikipedia page.
Oh.
So already a great start. We're using Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And it's literally just titled LGBTQ plus, or no plus, excuse me.
Oh.
LGBTQ stereotypes on Wikipedia. And
Ace
according to them,
exclusionary.
according to them, they say LGBT stereotypes are stereotypes about lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people based on their sexual orientations, gender identities, or gender expressions. They further say stereotypical perceptions may be acquired through interactions with parents, teachers, peers, and mass media, or more generally through a lack of firsthand familiarity, resulting in an increased reliance on generalizations.
Mm-hmm.
They also say negative stereotypes are often associated with homophobia, lesbophobia, gayphobia, biphobia, or transphobia. Positive stereotypes or counter stereotypes also exist.
Yeah.
Which I'm interested to see what the positive... Well, actually, I already know one right off the bat. What are yours right off the bat?
Thinking about like trans women specifically, you're all music producers and you all love computer science. And I'm so bad with technology and computers, and so people are like, LOL, transgender, computer science. I'm like, no. But I am a music major.
I was gonna say, but also transgender,
but
music.
also music, yeah.
I was gonna say I do know someone who's into computer science.
Oh my god.
But she's good at it. Women in STEM.
Women in
When
STEM.
we say women in STEM, we're talking about trans women who like computer science specifically.
Yeah.
I was gonna say one I thought of immediately was the other article I was looking at that said gay men are stylish. I'm telling you that right now, not all gay men are stylish.
Not in Colorado.
Well, I was gonna say they're like these YouTubers that I watch, and they recently are now being clowned on because like their fashion sense is like horrible. In the general public opinion, the fashion sense is just like not it. And everyone's always like, thank you for debunking that stereotype that gay men are no fashion or are stylish.
That is so
and I'm
funny.
like, oh.
It needs to be more of a stereotype that lesbians are good at fashion, because they are.
Is that a stereotype that they're bad at fashion?
It's just not talked about. It's all I would say the stereotype with lesbians is that they all are masked. Or like butch lesbians.
Yeah, I guess that's true, yeah.
I'm not beating that wearing my flannel and band t-shirt.
Well, I mean, it's just like clothes. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all clothes. But
I think flannel is just more queer than anything. I don't see it as like femme or mask. Which femme is like feminine and mask is like masculine.
Yeah.
We're just shortening it because syllables are too much work.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We have places to be, we're gay.
Yeah. Back to the Wikipedia article, they have a tab that says like in general, and then it says like media, and then they say the portrayal of LGBT people in the media historically included negative stereotypes, or LGBT people were not included. Stereotypes included that gay men are portrayed as flashy, flamboyant, and feminine, and lesbians being portrayed as the opposite. Yes. So what you said earlier. I do think that is interesting. Unfortunately, I have been watching The Secret Life of the American Teenager, which is a TV show about a teenager getting pregnant. And there is like a gay couple in it, and while they have a positive view, like no one's like, at least so far that I've watched like 20 episodes, I think. They're seen as like positive. Yeah. But like not explicitly flashy, which I think is nice because typically I think
film
early 2010s.
Early 2010s.
Yeah.
Okay. That was kind of like the peak of that like flamboyant, flashy gay stereotype, especially like gay men.
Yeah.
I think.
Which, by the way, is completely fine to be a flashy gay.
Yeah, of course. But it's not the only way to express gayness in media.
Yeah, but also like in general, because like there is like this could be like a whole other episode, but like the quote unquote like being gay enough.
Yeah.
Where like if you're straight passing as like a queer person, queer communities sometimes or like queer individuals are kind of like, get out.
That's so fair because like whenever I'm not like wearing makeup and I'm like, oh, I'm not trans enough today, and I'm like, I am not. How do I phrase that? It's like this self-perception of like, oh, if I'm not wearing makeup, and it's like laying into more stereotypes about like women in general, and feeling like I have to follow all of that, and then being like, no, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
If I've got products on my face or if I shave my facial hair.
No, yeah, like when I still like identify as like a trans man, like way back in my day, high school, I was really, into. Unfortunately, I had like a really toxic masculinity phase where I was just kind of like, I can't wear pink, I can't like floral patterns, I gotta shave my head off, I gotta have a deep voice, and I can't like girly stuff no more.
Now you have like pink flowers on your shirt, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like it's different now, and like even if I still identify as trans masc, I feel like now I'm at a good point where like I can do whatever I want, I can dress however I want, I don't really care.
Yeah, it's almost like overcompensating for when you're, because like for a lot of trans people, especially like myself, it's like you live your whole life and you're just like, oh, I can't do these things, and it's like, oh, I finally have the freedom to, and then it becomes this toxic mindset of if I don't do it, it's not real.
Yeah.
Which is how I felt for a long time, and I'm becoming more comfortable with like being a bit more masculine because it's fun, and it's just an easier thing to not have to constantly hyperanalyze every single action, every single piece of clothing you're wearing.
Yeah, because well, in general, and this is easy for me to say as someone who now presents as like whatever. As just like I don't know, I have all the gender, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a specific gender identity. I'm just kind of like, whatever you think is probably right.
Embodying that Tumblr post of every time you defeat someone in combat, you take their pronouns.
Yes,
you have
I
all
do.
of the genders.
I defeated my old toxic masculinity trans masc self, and also my childhood she her cisgender self, and I just took both. But no, yeah, like, oh man, I lost my train of thought. Oh, as someone who doesn't present as like a specific gender, I think it's interesting the way I express myself. Easier said than done. I just kind of wear whatever now.
Yeah.
But like, I hope all trans folks can just kind of wear whatever they want.
Yeah.
And not feel like, oh, I'm a trans man, I have to wear like army print, gotta have big hoodie, I can't have curves. Like there are a lot of like cisgender men who have curves, and a lot of like cisgender women who don't have like curves.
Yeah.
And like, as someone with like an anxiety disorder, one thing that's helped a lot is just being like, everyone is too self-centered to care about you and what you look like most of the time. There are like not nice people who feel the need to comment. However,
reminds
in general,
me of something I saw in some online trans spaces, mostly like the worst parts of the internet, Twitter,
or X.
Oh God, don't get me started on that. But it was someone posted like they're wearing a dress and it was a trans person, and all a ton of the comments were, "Wow, you're really overcompensating for your femininity by wearing a dress." And it's like it's almost flipped the other way. It's like if you wear a dress or you wear like a certain style of skirt, it's like, oh, that's like a trans skirt because you're.
What?
I don't know. It's crazy.
There are trans skirts now?
Apparently, it's the Amazon Basics skater skirt. It's the trans skirt.
Well, everyone wears that.
Exactly. And it's like people, usually older trans people, commenting, being like, oh yeah, I remember my time wearing that stuff. You'll grow out of it or whatever. Oh. It's just clothes. People feel confident and comfortable in those. Let them be. They look fine.
Yeah.
I
never heard of trans skirt. You learn something new every day.
Yeah. Trans femme lore goes deep, I guess.
I guess. Yeah.
guess.
You guys are computer science nerds and only wear one kind of skirt, I guess.
Apparently. The stereotypes would so say.
Speaking of stereotypes, I'm gonna move to the B in LGBT because I guess we're not doing Q+. But
I identified as bisexual for a while.
yeah, I do now.
Yeah.
We'll see how long that lasts if I still keep up with it. Because, I mean, I've changed my title.
Your title.
My title, yeah. My professional queer title. No, I've changed my labels quite a few times, but I've stuck with bisexual the longest so far. And it's the one I feel most comfortable with.
I stuck with bisexual for the longest time, but it's not what I currently identify as. I currently identify as a lesbian. You could maybe put me somewhere on, like, the queer spectrum, but...
I mean, you are.
Well,
already.
yeah, but, like, queer as a sexuality instead of queer as a gender identity or expression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great word, queer. Just,
Yeah.
like, embodying everything. It's nice.
I like it. It's a nice word. In this Wikipedia article, they have bisexual people as a category.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I see, indecision. I don't know about you.
How do you feel about that?
As a bisexual, hey, I think I'm just indecisive in general. I don't think it's because of my sexuality.
No.
I've met a lot of other non-bisexual folks who can't make a decision.
I think most people these days are indecisive.
Yeah.
And so being like, oh, bisexuals are indecisive. Who isn't? Who is decisive these days?
Oh, what's his name from The Good Place? Chidi?
I didn't watch it.
He speaks to me on such a level. He panics over every decision he makes.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched The Good Place, it's a great TV show about the afterlife, I guess, and being good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great show, but this Wikipedia article says, as the term bisexual can refer to people who have a sexual preference but are open to sexual interactions with other groups, bisexuals are sometimes seen as unwilling to commit to one sexual identity.
That's rough.
I think my commitment issues are not related to my sexuality.
That's something else entirely.
That is something else entirely. I think it's unfair to point at your sexuality title and be like, that's why you do this.
No, yeah.
We are complicated people.
Yeah. We are all our own planets or whatever.
Hashtag deep.
Yeah. Hashtag I'm 14 and this is deep. Something I've noticed, like I don't know if it'll come up, but a bisexual thing I've noticed, especially bisexual women, is that one, either bisexual women only date men, or two, it's a stepping stone to becoming a lesbian.
Yeah, that was, I think when we had the bi event with I almost said Deaf Pretty, the Jeff Pretty. Sorry, I had an event called Deaf Pretty where we talked about American Sign Language and deaf culture. But we had a bisexual Jeopardy game, and one of it was like addressing how, like you said, if women come out as bisexual and they have a boyfriend, people are like, just give it time, you'll be a lesbian in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's it sucks, I'm sure. That's not something I've really had to go through because I've like exclusively dated women. But I mean the reason is obvious why like bisexual women tend to date more men. It's because there's a lot more straight men than there are, or straight or bisexual men than there are lesbians out there. And so the pool is a lot bigger in one area and a lot smaller in another.
One could argue it could also have to do with like having to, I guess, appeal to the like cisgender and heterosexual general society. Yeah. And it's better to just pass as straight. Yeah. Or be in a straight passing couple rather than to just date a woman and be attacked in public. But so it is a safety thing, I think, as a part of it.
But I do know a lot of bisexual women who are very like loud and proud about their bisexuality, but also tend to date men just because like that's who they end up finding, and that's perfectly fine, and I don't know why people have a problem with it.
I feel like there's even a whole subculture within like bi culture
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, oh my gosh, what's that song? Bi wife energy. Is it a song or is that just like a slogan?
It's a slogan that got turned into like a TikTok song.
Okay, because the bi wife energy thing is the
Mhm.
whole thing we were talking about of like, usually straight cisgender husbands
Mhm.
having a wife and
Who's bisexual?
who's bisexual. So like the husbands will wear a shirt that says "bi wife energy." My wife is bisexual.
Yeah.
That's like a whole subcategory culture. I haven't really dived into it.
I have no opinions. Like, good for you, man. I'm glad that you support your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about it. It's just
Everyone
like,
point and laugh. He loves his wife.
whoa, crazy.
The next stereotype under bisexual is promiscuity, which is a hot topic.
Awful
Yeah.
stereotype. I don't know any. I don't think I know any bisexual people who've cheated. And so like, wrong. No. But yeah, it's just because it's like, oh, you can't pick between a gender, so that must mean you want to be with everybody. And it's like, one, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be with everybody. But
Yeah.
two, no, shut up. It's fine.
Just
you can
no.
date two genders and not want to cheat.
Yeah.
And there's like this thing, like I feel like here of like the missing out on another gender when you're dating another. Like if you're dating men, you're like, oh, I'm missing out on women. How do you feel about like that type of like perception? You don't really date though because you're
No, I was like, I'm the wrong.
So
and like, well, prior to me identifying as on the aromantic spectrum, which
Mhm.
like for folks who don't know, aromantic, at least for me, is like in general feeling little to no romantic attraction to anyone, regardless of how they identify. For me, I don't really feel romantic attraction to others, and I've just describe recent. By recent, I mean like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Start identifying as aromantic,
Mhm.
but still like identifying as bisexual. So like I don't really feel romantic attraction to folks. And again, that's like a whole other podcast episode on like how
Yeah.
that works and how I differentiate like sexual and like romantic attraction to folks. But
Yeah.
back when I did, excuse me, back when I did date, I was in a long-term relationship, but we had an open relationship. So I explored like people and like talking to them and seeing how like dates, I guess, and like flirting made me feel, which like, but but I don't know. I feel like I don't know if this is a stereotype for specifically bisexual folks, or I guess multiple people under the multiple attraction spectrum. I think that's what it's called. So like pansexual, polysexual folks. There's this thing where it's like I'm more comfortable flirting with male identifying folks than I am with female identifying. And I think there's like multiple reasons why, but I'm more comfortable if I'm like talking to like a guy being like, yeah, man, love your arms. I don't know.
That's strange. I've never experienced that.
But with like women, I'm like, hey.
Oh,
hello.
I've experienced that.
Yeah, like just panic when I talk to like female identifying
Yeah.
folks, but like with male identifying, I'm just like, whatever. I don't. It's the anxiety's not there as much. And that I think is a topic I should have with my therapist.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I don't know.
That's
it's
something
interesting.
I feel like I've heard before, like being more able to flirt with or connect with men more than women. I don't really know exactly why that is. I feel like if I could throw out a theory, a game theory.
I was gonna say a life theory.
It's probably, I think it's because women are seen as like this something that like, especially like cis heteronormativity, there's someone to be pursued, and men are not to be pursued. And in a lot of straight male spaces, it's cool to flirt with your guy friends because it's funny, which makes it easier, I guess, for some people to like jokingly or not jokingly flirt with a guy. And that's something I've seen a lot and something I think would be interesting to talk about is like straight men being presumably gay with their guy friends. Yeah. I don't know. It feels like it might have something to do with that, but I got no idea.
I was gonna say because we grew up differently. Yeah. Obviously, I grew up for a good portion of my life. I was in an all-girls Catholic school.
Yeah.
Which.
That's an experience.
Yeah, that's an experience. It didn't really work. Because here I am now. And I kind of see a similar thing with, like, straight or cisgender, like, straight audiences or groups, where they compliment each other more. And I guess that's, like, a meme or, like, a joke where girls will post, like, on their Instagram, like, cute photos of themselves and all of their friends that are
I will
girls,
say the first
they'll
time,
be like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty, marry me. So I saw that a lot. Yeah. So I guess there's something there.
The first time I ever saw that happen, like, to me and experience that, was so gender affirming because like when I had came out as a woman, and then I had female friends comment on my stuff and being like, oh my god, you're so beautiful, I love you so much. I was just like, wow, that's a feeling, and it was great. I think everyone should do that with their friends.
I was gonna say, I'll start commenting on your Instagram posts, like, looking quite radiant today, man.
Yeah,
but like, man, in a gender neutral way.
Yeah, but I had a thought and it's gone.
That's okay.
I love when that happens. Let's move on to the next.
I'll keep going down. I'll go to the lesbians tag.
Want to go to some lesbian ones? Oh, I was gonna say something about, because you went to Catholic school. I went to public school my entire life, and
How was that?
Oh. I went to my elementary school experience was like a public school, but it was like a magnet school. So like I came for being like quote unquote gifted to like an advanced program.
Oh, okay.
As a 6-year-old, which was all fake, but yeah, I went for like an advanced placement, like gifted program. So the people I was with, it was also a uniform school, which is weird for a public school.
What's the point?
Yeah, exactly. It was these. You had 3 colors of polo shirt: white, navy blue, or yellow, tucked into either navy blue or khaki shorts or pants. But it was Florida, so it was always shorts. You had to have a belt, and you had to have your shirt tucked in. It was crazy. It was a weird school.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you going with that? You said I went to Catholic school. You went to public school your whole life. Was it just the uniform?
Just the experience was different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea what a private school environment or an one gender experience would have been like, because it was always co-ed, and being able to like talk to or be friends with whoever I wanted to.
I guess that is the nice thing, like normalizing the friendships between mixed genders, I guess.
Yeah.
Because there is that thing of like, if you're a woman and you're talking to a guy, like, you want to date him.
Yeah, or like men can't be friends with women without wanting to have sex with them.
If you are friends with a woman and you're a man, you're either gay or you want to sleep with her. No other option.
That's one thing I never, ever, ever got about like straight people is that whole energy. And I've heard people like explain it, but it doesn't make any sense in my head. Even after they do, I'm just like, why can't we just talk to people?
Yeah.
Whatever.
We can't just be buddies.
Yeah.
We can't friends. Just watch Inside Out in our house.
Wow.
Like, hello.
I haven't seen Inside Out in years.
It's funny because the Wikipedia page, underneath bisexual, they have gay men.
Mm-hmm.
and then under gay men it's lesbians. The gay men one, I have to scroll for way longer because
Oh,
there's more
yeah.
stereotypes, which I
There's
guess
so
makes
many.
sense.
Because it was like the only thing really talked about in media. Because for
Yeah.
a long time it was, oh, lesbians aren't real.
I'm trying to see what the specific like lesbian stereotypes are besides oh well,
Clothes.
one of the first sentences is um, the 1961 drama The Children's Hour, never heard that in my life,
Never.
gives viewers the idea that lesbians live a dark, in quotations, and almost
Mm.
depressing lifestyle. How do
There's,
you feel about that?
oh boy.
Depressing lifestyle?
No, my lifestyle is very fun and full of energy. At times. Um, balance, moderation. That reminded me, talking about like old lesbian media. There's a YouTuber called Strange Eons
Oh, yes.
who reads these like pulp fiction lesbian novels
Yes.
from like the 50s and 60s and stuff. And they're all like, I killed my husband and now I'm marrying 8 women and it's beautiful and amazing. And I'm like, how did this ever happen then? And also, thank you. They're all like poorly written, but they're great. And I haven't seen those videos in a while, but that just reminded me of that.
Time to rewatch them now, I
Oh,
guess.
yeah, every single one.
That's interesting. I guess that kind of goes under queer people can't be monogamous thing
Yeah.
with like
It's
what is
all
that?
gotta be, because it's
They all must have like a harem.
polyamory and sexuality are both like taboo, and so and they're also like, oh, these things breaking away from the like the cultural norm, and so they must be intertwined together. And that's, if you want like an evil character, that's why there was like I can't remember the exact name. You could probably search it and find, but like the code of like for certain movies and stuff, it was like all gay characters need to be evil.
Oh yeah, or
Um,
dead.
Evil or dead. Yeah,
Yeah.
for I think it was especially like children's media. So like that's why
Yeah.
everyone's like gay man for like any of the Disney villains or anything.
Yeah.
Which
Gay
is
man
like,
or drag queen.
yeah, Ursula.
Ursula's a drag queen.
Yeah. And like thinking about that, it's just like, yeah, it was really just like, how do we demonize this thing? I think.
Yeah. That is a trend, and I guess that could be a separate thing, but we didn't really talk about it in the last one of how media portrayals of queer folks. Well, it still happens today, but
Yeah.
it was more seen back in the day, especially in video games too. A lot of video games had like antagonists as like queer folk, and the
Which
first
game?
example I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
and it's gonna sound wild, but just hear me out. The Birdo from Super Mario Bros. The quote unquote pink Yoshi.
Yeah.
She's trans. You
Yeah,
knew that,
I
right?
knew that.
Yeah, and in the earlier games, she was
She's in
a
Super
villain or like an antagonist. Like you had to, like
She's
a
in, like,
Goomba type, you
came
know,
out of like Super Mario 2.
something. I don't know, but it was like
Yeah,
early.
she was a villain, she was trans, and she was like weird and evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to talk about upcoming events?
Yes, I do. So we are at our halfway point. And so we are going to let you know a couple of upcoming events for specifically the LGBTQ plus resource center. Looking at November, we've got 3 events. 2 of them are kind of combined, but over the course of 2 days. But we'll be starting with the polyamorous celebration on the 12th of November, which is going to just be, I believe, a talk and then just getting to meet some poly people at UCCS. And on the 19th and 20th, we will be talking about and holding a remembrance for Club Q, as well as Trans Day of Remembrance. It'll be full of opportunities to pay respects to the fallen, as well as working on some zines with the Kramer Family Library. I think all of these events should have free food. and it's going to be a great opportunity to meet new people and be in community on such a tough day.
Yeah. November is a tough month
Yeah.
for the queer community, and like specifically Springs community too.
Yeah.
And drastic topic change.
Yeah.
Back to lesbian stereotypes.
Back to lesbian stereotypes.
Thank you for sharing the upcoming events.
Yeah.
I mean, this Wikipedia article does mention the thing you were saying of how, well, kind of the same, how lesbians, and I guess it also can kind of go with gay men for like the opposite gender identity, but lesbians preying on and seducing straight women who are already in relationships with men. And then the one before that is like the U-Haul lesbian stereotype, where lesbians. So for those of you who don't know what the U-Haul lesbian stereotype is, it's basically the stereotype that lesbians move in together on like the second date and like get a cat together on the third. They just move fast is the stereotype.
Of course, it's a stereotype. It's not in all cases, but a lot of relationships I've been in, it's been like, or like when I'm talking with someone, it's like, okay, when are we moving in together? Or like, when are we getting an animal? We move fast for some reason. It's very easy to get wrapped up in a relationship, and I don't know why that's like a lesbian thing. I feel like it's an everybody thing.
I was gonna say, do you think that plays into how the pool is so small that you think, or the mindset is like, I have to, this is the one, like we gotta just rip the Band-Aid off now. Like this
that
is my
also
person.
reminds me of something else I've heard. A stereotype, two actually. Lesbians never really break up. And I can explain that. I probably phrased it weirdly, but also like every time you date someone new, they have dated your ex. And it's all because the pool is so small.
Yeah.
I'm very new to Springs, new to being gay in Springs. So I don't know that many gay people, but like I'll find someone on like Tinder and start talking to them, and then I'll like add them on Instagram, and they're followed by like 5 people I've talked to, and it's crazy. But like the not breaking up thing, it's like because we move so fast, and a lot of lesbians remain like friends after breaking up. It's like, what's the point of even breaking up? We're still gonna like live together because we move in fast. It's something I've seen a lot in like as jokes and like reels and stuff from lesbians. I just think it's really funny. Is my only thing, is like, yeah, we are strange about it, relationships, but I think a lot of it is the circle is so small, and finding a new partner is so hard.
Yeah.
Especially for lesbians, because it's...
Yeah, I feel for y'all.
So weird. Dating women.
Especially in Springs only.
Yeah. There's also something to be said about, and this is a topic I feel very strongly about, no one ever makes the first move. Useless lesbians is what it's called. And I've definitely felt that a lot. And it's got a really, really simple answer to why. It's because American culture trains women to be the one to be pursued.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of lesbians bring that into their lesbian relationships. And so they're like, I'm not going to make the first move, while every other lesbian is also not making the first move. And then you have the one brave lesbian who's like, I will make the first move.
The brave little toaster.
Yeah, the little toaster.
The little toaster who could. Oh, yeah.
Brave little toaster. Yeah, that's been me in a lot of relationships. But also, and this is a thing that I've had to like talk to partners about. It's like, hey, I don't like making the first moves because of like this societal thing. It makes me feel like I'm still like almost like a man in this relationship. And so setting that like intention or that boundary is important for me, but also hasn't really worked, because it's just like, oh, I'm too nervous, and it's like, okay, whatever, fine.
Yeah, sure,
but yeah,
whatever.
it's a stereotype for sure, but it is also a common phenomenon, I would say, of the quote unquote useless lesbian. And I hate calling it that because it is so like demeaning, but what it means is something that is a very real, I would say, problem in a lot of like lesbian spaces.
Yeah, I think the quote unquote like useless lesbian stereotype, there's a Venn diagram, and somewhere there's disaster gay. I think that
Explain.
Have you never heard the term disaster gay?
I feel like I've heard it, but I no idea what it means.
It's just basically I see as like any queer person who is a disaster.
Oh.
Whether it be like in life where they don't got their stuff together, or in relationships where they're just like, oh, I don't know if this person's flirting with me, or like, oh, like I can't flirt with this person, they're too attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah, just chaotic, basically.
Yeah.
Chaotic disaster gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Venn diagram, and well, not actually a Venn diagram, but I'm saying
two circles.
It's actually one circle.
The lesbian community is split into two circles: disaster gays and useless lesbians.
And they're all the same circle. No, I'm kidding.
No.
The transgender category in this Wikipedia article.
Boy, I bet it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's not fun.
No.
A lot of these are not fun.
No.
In general for queer stereotypes.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason.
I feel like I need to make something clear. Stereotypes are bad. Don't stereotype people.
Even if it's like a positive one, quote unquote.
Yeah. It's still putting an expectation and a pressure on someone, and at worst at best it's doing that, at worst it's incredibly demeaning.
Yeah.
So
when I think of positive stereotypes, I unfortunately think of it in a racial context.
Yeah.
And specifically how, well, I don't identify as Asian or like specifically like Japanese. I had a lot of friends growing up who were Asian and not even Japanese. And then people would be like, oh, so you're really good at math, huh? And they're like, no, I actually suck at math. And I'm like, good for you. I also suck at math. I'm not Asian, but I am an ally. But it's just, like you said, it's just unfair to be like, you are this thing, therefore you are good at this thing.
Yeah. It's just really
weird.
Icky. It's so weird. It is a very icky feeling. And I think that by talking about this, we wanted to talk about this with some levity to like kind of bring like have fun with it, but it is a very serious topic. I feel like we should acknowledge that, this is like a problem.
Yeah.
Do not continue to stereotype gay people. It's not fun.
Yeah.
But let's hear some weird, bad trans stereotypes.
They really started off strong by saying, the beliefs that transgender people are all prostitutes and caricatures of men and women are two of the many erroneous misconceptions.
Ooh.
Erroneous? Is that like horrible? Basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that's what that word means. I'm not a dictionary.
I was going to say, English is not my first language.
With that sex worker one, it's so rough. And it's a common thing for sure, because cis society has forced so many trans people out of being able to work any type of quote unquote normal job and force them into sex work. And of course sex work is real work, but it's kind of the only option a lot of people have. Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna say.
So, and it's been used as such a bashing and demeaning stereotype. It's like, oh, all trans people are these like internet harlots.
Yeah.
And it's hurtful to see for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's a survival thing for a lot of queer folk, like especially like trans folk of color.
I mean, talk about sorry, I don't mean to
oh
cut you
no,
off.
you're good.
But like it also coincides with homelessness is so common, especially with trans people of color. It becomes like one of the only options. If you have like a phone connection, then that's like one of the last things you have to do to make money.
Yeah. And
because society has fetishized us, it's become, for a lot of people, quite lucrative. It's the only way to make, for a lot of people, the only way to make that good of a living.
Yeah.
To be able to sustain yourself, because, working minimum wage is not enough. So yeah, it's it's awful to see it used in a negative way. Um, but it's not something I feel people should be ashamed of. And I feel like a
No,
lot of
yeah.
shame is thrown into it, especially from the people using that stereotype to bash people.
I was gonna say it's wild that generally a lot of the consumers of like sex work hosted, I don't know what the term is, but like I guess hosted or done by specifically trans women, a lot of the consumers are quote unquote like straight cisgender men,
Yeah.
and then there'll be the same people generally that will turn around and be like, trans women no rights.
Yeah.
I actually hate you.
It's very strange to
Yeah.
see, for sure.
I think
It's because I
No,
feel
you're
like
good.
it's something that they do it and then they feel guilty about it and they feel like they have to like repair that in themselves by demeaning us and by being like, oh yeah, you don't deserve rights or anything.
Yeah. I was gonna say great. I think great and a respectful portrayal of this in the media is with Pose, which is a great TV show, and everyone should watch it. It is heavy. It's a heavy show sometimes, but it's a great show that shows how drag and ballroom culture was in New York City. It has the largest main transgender cast, I believe, right now. And most, if not all, of the cast are folks of color as well. Trans folks of color, trans women of color. And I think a good portion of season 1, they show that a lot of them had to do like sex work in order to survive and buy food, buy or pay for rent, buy clothes so they don't freeze to death. And low-key spoiler, one of the characters, she has a consistent client, and this was before she had gender affirming surgery, and the guy, she was telling him like, I have enough money saved up, I'm gonna get bottom surgery done. And he was like, no, if you do that, like, I'll stop being your client. And she did it anyway because good for her. And he was like, I don't want you anymore. And I think about that a lot, how
I think about and I feel like I'm sure I have not seen Pose. I should, but I feel like there's some inspiration from I had an anthropology class where we had to watch Paris is Burning, and that's a huge theme in that you can't really separate that 80s ballroom culture from queer and trans sex work. And people and they really talk about in that documentary how that was the only way of survival, how no one else would let them work. It was the only thing to do. And a lot of people died from AIDS, but also from violence from clients and things like that. It's terrifying. And I'm glad that we are now like in an age where that is less something that has to happen, but it is still something for a lot of people that has to happen. And it's something we should respect and honor as where we've had to come from.
One of the things that I think it was the first year I went to the Creating Change conference, which is one of the largest LGBTQ plus conferences in the United States. And I believe the first year I went, there was a lot of workshops that talked about decriminalizing, big word, sorry, like sex work, and they had trans women speak on it. And I don't know, as someone who is literally studying criminal justice, it's very fascinating, and I wish it was talked about more in
me too.
general, why decriminalizing certain things is so important for not even queer communities, but
for
like
people.
communities of color and just people in general, but communities of color as well. And Pose is a great show. They also, I think they touch on like violence that clients impose on the the trans workers, and this does happen in real life, but I'm now only thinking of Pose.
Yeah.
But in the show, when there is a trans woman who is successful and she has her own business, she doesn't have to rely on sex work, it gets destroyed and it gets literally burnt down. So like even if we get that opportunity and we quote unquote like pass enough, and by passing I mean specifically for like trans women when they pass as a cisgender woman.
Yeah.
Even in times where they pass, if folks catch on or find out, they want to destroy every good opportunity.
Yeah.
Because God forbid y'all are happy.
Yeah. It's awful. We really brought
the mood down.
The mood
yeah.
down.
That's okay. I'll find another one. But I mean, it's important to talk about mood or not.
Important. Yeah, it's something that a lot of people try to separate from queer culture nowadays, but it's inseparable. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that topic because it's a sort of uncomfortable or icky topic to talk about, but it's very important. And so I'm glad we got the opportunity to today.
Yeah. It's very educational, I feel like, for folks who are not super familiar with it.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't familiar with decriminalization in general, but specifically the decriminalization of sex work I wasn't familiar with until I went to Creating Change and I saw that. So that was really eye-opening for me. So another article from Vox.com this one is specifically like for trans folks.
Yeah.
And one of them that I think is interesting is transitioning is as simple as one surgery.
I wish. Oh boy, would life be so much simpler if it was just one surgery.
A question I got a lot when I was talking about getting gender affirming surgery is folks would be like, so you're getting the surgery?
The surgery.
The surgery? I'm like, yes. What?
Yeah, the one. No, there's so much medical transition, and I feel like it's important to separate because a lot of trans people don't go through medical transition either because they don't want to or because they can't afford to. But it's so much stuff and it's so expensive. Hormones are a pain. I'm a chronic forgetter of my injections.
I'm stressed out now thinking about that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I get it eventually. No, yeah. Take your medication on time, kids. Not kids, but, you know. Oh, it's so complicated. And if I could just list off things for, like, trans women, a lot of, like, the common things we do, it's that hormone medication, it's laser hair removal, it's breast augmentation surgery, it's facial feminization, which usually comes with like rhinoplasty and completely like restructuring of the face. It's bottom surgery, which is its whole own thing.
Yeah.
And it's so much. But when people talk about it, they're usually just talking about the surgery as in bottom surgery.
Yeah.
And I've even had family be like, "Oh, are you gonna get the surgery?" I'm like, "Which surgery?" And they're like,
you gotta,
they don't want to they don't want to specify, but like I know and they know. But
yeah, I'm trying to think of the ones for trans men because I specifically got a double incision chest surgery, which basically means they just took away all of my breast fat to make it flat. And well, there's different types of incisions. That's why I specified double incision. If your breasts are small enough, they can just do a thing called keyhole incision, which is what one of my friends back at home got. And it's literally like a not small, but like smaller incision. Yeah. They just, from what I understand, they just like vacuum the fat out and then that's it. There's minimal scarring. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. I didn't get that. I got double incision, which is fine. Like I don't care about how my double incision scars look, but I just think about the quote unquote top surgery. Why do trans women call it top surgery too, or do they say like breast augmentation?
I
Or what do
think
they say?
I think a lot of them call it top surgery.
Okay, because I was like, I see a lot of top surgeries be referred to specifically for like female to male
Yeah.
surgeries.
That is the most common, I would say, but
Mhm.
I do know that some trans people call it top
Okay.
surgery,
Gotcha.
top and bottom surgery, because it's
Yeah.
just easier than breast augmentation or like
Yeah.
yeah.
And I can only think of top and bottom for trans men because I don't think there's any facial reconstruction stuff.
I mean, you can always get plastic surgery done on your face,
Well,
but it's not
yeah.
very required.
It's not as commonly talked about as it is in
Yeah.
trans women's spaces where it's like facial reconstruction plus rhinoplasty,
Mm-hmm.
the breast augmentation, the laser hair
There's
removal.
also something I forgot. There is a lot of, because hormone medication for trans women doesn't raise your voice, which it does for trans men usually.
Yeah.
Um,
That's how I got my voice so deep.
There is a surgery you can get to
okay.
change your vocal cords. Oh, also tracheal shaves to remove your Adam's apple.
What?
Yeah.
You can just shave that off?
No. It changes a lot, but it like removes the bump basically, or most of the bump. It's not like cutting it all off, but it's just like cutting down some of the bone and cartilage. There's so many things you can do. There's so many surgeries. If we can speak personally, I'm probably not going to get a lot of them because I just don't like surgery.
Fair.
And those aren't things I'm super dysphoric about.
Yeah.
But there's so much you can do. No, it's not wrong to be dysphoric in that way, and to seek those things out. I feel like a lot of people think it's vain, and this is another stereotype that goes with trans people, is that we're narcissistic for wanting to improve ourselves. Yeah, a lot of especially like trans women get called narcissists for feeling dysphoria and wanting to change things about themselves, which I feel is insane.
I think society just hates femininity.
That is also true.
But for trans men, I mean, well, back when I was a trans guy, like now I don't care. But anyways, speaking from my experience, yeah, I didn't really get the narcissism stuff. I guess just because like quote unquote performing masculinity is just not doing anything. Like not putting makeup on.
Yeah.
I guess you could argue like working out and like getting muscles and stuff. But even then, isn't there something with that too where if you're a man if you're a man and you like to work out, and you get called gay for working out? Do you know about that? Like there are some men that get stereotyped as or get called gay because they work out a lot.
That's insane.
But on the other flip side, it's like men or anyone just likes to work out for themselves. Yeah. But I saw that sometimes. I wasn't sure if you've ever seen it, but I've seen it a couple of times where it's like, why are you working out? Your core. You want to look good for a man? No. I want to take good gym pics. Yeah. Hello?
God,
I want to broaden my shoulders.
I want to not do that. I think that's also something you can get done is like...
Shave your shoulders?
No, like part of your clav... I might be wrong. I think I'm wrong. I don't think that's a
Just
thing.
making up surgeries in your head now.
That is a thing a lot of people get dysphoric about, is broad shoulders, especially like trans women. I don't have the broadest shoulders. I don't think about it a lot. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I'm in the mirror, I'm like, damn, I'm broad. I'm a broad.
Yeah, you're a broad. Gender euphoria from getting called a broad. They're kind of alongside... Well, you briefly mentioned this. One of the stereotypes is all trans people medically transition. We already kind of talked, like, you don't have to if you don't want to. You don't have to, if you're like a trans guy, you don't have to go on T if you want to deepen your voice.
No.
Or you don't have to go on T at all. You can just be there.
Socially constructed, and it's a self-identification thing. You don't have to do anything other than say, hey, I'm this. And I know a lot of people that can't medically transition, and and that's super rough. That is a thing that should be a lot more accessible. I have some friends back home in Florida who are struggling with that currently. And I wish them the absolute best with their healthcare endeavors. But yeah, it's not something that you need. And I don't know a lot of non-binary stereotypes. We really only hit on
I was gonna say one I've seen, and like unfortunately I'm gonna base it more off of memory and mainly TikTok, unfortunately. Some of the stereotypes I see about like non-binary folks is when they pick out chosen names. You can't see, but Lexi is smiling so wide. So one of the stereotypes I see, you already know where I'm going with this.
I think so.
With chosen names, non-binary names, it's like rock. What are other ones?
Moss.
Leaf, moss.
Yeah.
Just things, specifically nature things.
Nouns.
Bug.
Yeah.
Nouns, but also every non-binary person has to pick a gender-neutral name. So like Riley, Alex. Oh God, what are other gender-neutral names?
Don't call me out for being Alex.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
In the sense of
in the sense that
Adrian. Adrian's a gender-neutral name.
I've heard that one. I know a trans guy with that name.
I was gonna say I knew someone named Adrian, and then I've seen female characters in media named Adrian.
Yeah.
What are other? But anyways, the stereotype is it has to be completely neutral,
gender neutral, or
noun,
a nature object.
A nature object, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
which is weird.
Yeah. Or it has to be like a character name.
Yeah. Ooh.
Like that's a stereotype where your name is picked out from this media you really liked, which is valid.
Anime character.
Yeah, what have I seen? All I can think of is Naruto. That's not one I've seen. But you say anime and I think of Naruto. I've seen
John, My Hero Academia.
John?
No.
I'm like, ain't no way they have someone named
what's
John.
His name?
Bakugo?
Yeah.
Oh. But this is not one I've seen. Oh wait, no, I lied. This is one I've seen. It's not an anime, but a media one I think of every single time when I think of people, specifically trans men, who pick out their names. Trans men named Dave.
I've never in my life heard of or met a trans guy named Dave.
I've seen several on TikTok.
That's
and
crazy.
They all pick it because there's a character in this thing called Homestuck, which is a webcomic.
Oh.
And one of the characters' name is Dave. So
yeah.
Every time I see
who Dave is. I know a bit about Homestuck.
Well, if you ever meet a trans guy and he's named Dave and that's his chosen name, just ask him.
Just ask him,
hey.
Homestuck?
Well, but you could also just be like, why Dave?
Oh.
It's probably Homestuck.
Will they say
I'm
that,
stereotyping,
though? But yeah. Oh.
Yeah, but that's one I've seen for non-binary folks. Has to be neutral.
It's just name stuff.
It's mainly name stuff. I've seen
a lot of, especially for non-binary or she/they, non-binary AFAB people or like people who use she/they, is that it's just an attention thing, or you just want to feel a little special.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people again don't have to transition medically, and so people get really upset when they see a non-binary person with boobs. Whoa. Because for some reason that's an intrinsic female trait, and if you have those, you can't possibly be non-binary.
Yeah.
It's very annoying to see online.
People
need to be nicer to each other. Wow, hot take of the century. Be nice to each other.
I guess.
I feel like we said that in the last one as well.
Did we?
I think so.
If we did, I guess we only have one message with every episode. It's just to be nice.
Yeah.
But it's so hard for folks sometimes.
I guess so. I think we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
yeah. With that, I've been Lexi.
And I've been Kane.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you check back in 2 weeks when our next episode will be, where we'll be talking about local drag performers and we're still working on booking, but we have a couple people in mind, and we're
Yes.
very excited.
Yes.
It's going to be really cool. So yeah, thank you for watching or listening.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.